today. So every day we start fresh because we can't affect the past, but we damn sure can make a difference today.
Welcome back to another episode of Shop Talk. This one was packed with some memorable moments. The return of Laura Stenson, which we love to see.
Yay.
We,
Oh, I
we
was so
were just
excited.
talking about it. We weren't expecting her to come back. And we both missed her name in the mentions, even though I watched it a day later and knew she was back. So,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
We also saw the end of Malvado, and then we saw a few pairings that we haven't seen in a while.
Mhm.
So that was really cool. There is some news to cover first, and then we'll get right into the episode recap. Do you want to take us through the 716 description?
Yeah, so that's called The Return. And the description is that the team has mixed feelings when a familiar face returns, hoping to prove himself. Meanwhile, an influencer gets his fans to come after Wesley, and Tim supports Lucy as she prepares for the sergeant's exam, and that will air April 29th.
Yeah. So in
So,
2 weeks.
yeah,
We're forming the Wesley Protection Squad right here.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
no. We're not
Like,
we're
what
not
is
having anyone come after him.
all these online things are just like meta very much like going on in like the real world of like
Yeah.
people getting canceled or podcasts or whatever, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, whoa, like the rookie's really tuned in
Yeah.
right now. So
And Tim supporting Lucy for her sergeant's exam. We love to see
right.
it. We love to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Um, People are thinking that the familiar face is Seth. And when I was typing the episode description in the outline today, I hadn't really read when it was first posted, so I didn't see the hoping to prove himself because I was like, well, we know Oscar is supposed to come back, so there we go. But if they're hoping to prove themselves, then
Yeah.
it's gotta be Seth. It has
I
to
mean,
be.
I would think so. If not, then I don't know. I just don't know. Like, God damn it, Richard just like flat out lied in that one interview
I
for like
know.
Seth because I'm like, dude, why?
I know. But then yet I'm like, well, maybe Richard was like trying to throw everyone off. Or like he
I
just
mean,
didn't
yeah,
remember because like they've
that's
been
fair.
done filming for a while. I don't know.
That's
I'm
true.
just
Yeah.
like that's the only one that I can think of because like Oscar's not gonna have to come back to prove himself
No, at least I don't
unless
think so.
unless it's like Connor Craig, like Nolan's previous rookie, like that he worked with for one day, but even then, why would he come back?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's gotta be Seth. It has to be Seth.
I mean, I
So
would think so. I mean, because he just left in such like a bitter way, though.
yeah.
Like, what in the world? What's he gonna prove? Like, haha, I am like actually good enough for this job or something? Like, I
Right.
don't know.
Well,
Like,
and he was like, I'm gonna sue you. Okay, so let's
right?
see that happen because he's not gonna, have
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I don't know. That
I guess
episode
we'll
is just
see.
gonna be so interesting. So,
Yeah.
yeah. There were a couple of articles. I guess Alexi did the press this week. He spoke with Screen Rant on why the show revisited Blanca's murder, and he said it started with conversations about the true crime podcast phenomenon, and then Celina's story is the freshest, so it just felt right to revisit that storyline. I will say it was nice to kind of bring that back. Like I
Hmm.
felt like it was something that yeah, we haven't revisited in a while, but it's something that sticks with her all the time. So it
Hmm.
was nice to kind of revisit that.
Yeah.
Um, he also talked about the Malvado storyline and that kind of being capped off and like done. He said unless something comes up that's interesting in the writer's room, it's fairly capped off. The Malvado storyline was really there to show Bailey's trauma with Jason on loose and him coming for her, having her sort of go through re-traumatization of her past relationship and come to terms felt like a device more than something that needed to play in terms of long-term stakes. Um, and all I have to say is like, so we're not going to see her deal with consequences for any of that. Like, I don't know, it feels like
Well,
kind of just a filler storyline, but um he also touched on the emotional impact of Chenford's split, Lucy taking the sergeant's exam and their main roadblock at this point in time. Um, and he said what was important to them as they launched the new season, is that there wasn't a cheap it wasn't a cheap out on the fallout from the breakup. That the damage was done. That was real damage. And he wanted to show the emotional impact. Um, and so then he kind of talked about how it was important to see Tim commit to actually trying to be better, and it was important for us to have Lucy realize that she needed to make sure she was putting her career and emotional health first, which I will say we are seeing that from Lucy. And I feel like we've seen Tim kind of prove that like he can commit to be better and everything, but like we've only seen him in therapy once. But he's still like doing like small actions. So, I
Mhm.
mean yeah, it's there. It's in small doses. And then Alexei also talked about the Tim, Angela, Bropez, Tim, Gillette, like whatever kind of ship name we have for them, partnership name, dynamic, and if that was something that they always planned to do or lean in after seeing the chemistry between Alyssa and Eric. And Alexei said, I always thought that Lopez and Tim had a special connection. In my head, they were rookies together themselves. When you cast a show and you see the actors together, you're like, oh yeah, let's lean into that. Um, they, I kind of want like a flashback or like a prequel to them as rookies. Like I want to see the original TOs as
Mhm.
rookies. I think it would be
Oh,
so
that could be
fun.
interesting. Yeah.
I would also like to see Nyla as a rookie too, because I feel like I mean, she's probably like the same age and like came up through the ranks as Tim and Angela, and it was just like in a different either station or, I mean, she obviously went down a different path, so it would be cool to see her as like a rookie too.
Mhm.
Um, and then Alexei also touched on the hacker who threatened Tim returning down the line, and he said it's one of those breadcrumbs that when the time is right, it'll be brought back around. I have a feeling that it'll be like a season 8 type of thing. But
Mhm.
then I was also thinking, could the hacker be Zuzu? Like, and Zuzu's reaching out to other people in the station.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the same robotic tone of voice, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or, I mean, Oscar. Like, let's just keep throwing Oscar's name out there. So, yeah. Alexi also talked about Tim's starring role in Behind the Badge, and said at some point we will see Tim in those videos. Alexi doesn't know exactly when it'll be, but he loves the idea of that and loves the bargain that Tim had to make to get Miles onto the football team. I saw someone like screenshot Gray like laughing when that happened, and I was like, yeah, it is pretty funny. Just because Tim's like, oh God, I really do have to do that now. Um,
Right.
I mean, I could see it happening towards the end of season 7. Like we're already at episode 14. We only have 4 episodes left, or 3 now. So I could see it kind of happening, but I could also see it happening next season. They just would have to bring Derek back, which yeah, we need him to come back. We do.
Right. Yeah.
Um, And then he also talked about Lucy not being in the football scene and if that was a creative choice. And he said, yes, at the end of the day, it was. It felt like she had gone through so much having shot this woman, and it was important that she be allowed to take space and not just party afterwards with the others. Whereas for Celina, it was emotional seeing the sisters reunite, but she needed the relief in a different way. Um, and I thought it was cute how they like kind of we saw Celina start at a very like emotional, like traumatic place and kind of end the episode like on a win, on a high. Like she was the one that brought the team to a win. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So that was the Screen Rant article, and then there was a TV Insider article which pretty much touched on the same things. But Alexi did kind of talk about the Tim and Angela scene and the Chenford breakup overall. And he said that he didn't want to make it easy, partly because of what Tim had done to Lucy and the way he broke up with her and everything. Which I feel like we've heard before. So, um, he also said it felt like it would be a disservice to the characters if there were just a couple of episodes of quote unquote like penalty box, and then they were back together, which I agree. Like if we're gonna do this, let's draw it out a little bit to where it's not just like, oh yeah, like and make it feel real. And then he also talked about the next episode having a few unexpected revelations as part of the true crime documentary episode. Some things are said that a camera caught that maybe they weren't supposed to. So that'll be interesting because we know Chenford's being interviewed together again.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I wonder what will happen. But we also know it's like taking part or yeah, it's like happening around the Liam Glasser stuff. So like I'm trying to think back to that. Was Chenford like fooling around at that point? I feel like Valentine's Day had already happened at that point. I don't know. I guess it depends on when it falls in the timeline. So, yeah, so that's kind of all the news like on the episode itself. Um, okay, Patrick is doing the most with his content. Number one, first and foremost, everyone needs to go follow Patrick on all of the platforms. He is delivering all of the rookie behind the scenes content. Especially for like how short of a time he was on the show. He's like he just keeps providing. Um, he put out a vlog today. And he has a part in there where some of the cast got together for a night out, and True's even there. It was
Mhm.
so cool to see like True and Derek and Patrick like all hanging out. But yeah, Alyssa, Melissa, Liseth, Richard, Makia, Derek, like they're all like at a jazz night, which we had kind of seen it was posted about on Instagram and stuff, but like we didn't really see any of the background on it. But so he like posted a little bit of that. And then he also talks about procrastination a lot. Like it's like a 23-minute vlog of him just trying to rehearse and memorize lines for a play. And
Mhm.
like over the course of 3 days, and he just doesn't. He's like, no, I've got like other things. I'm like, mood. And at one point he's like, this is what being me looks like. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I can relate to that. Like, definitely go check it out because I was laughing hysterically in certain parts of it, and it was so good. Um, and then he also dropped, it was yesterday, being Tuesday. He dropped that he's coming out with a podcast, so we love to see it.
Yeah.
And he said that there's no name for it, but Lisette will be on it because she was like recording with him in a way, like just as a guest, along
Yeah.
with more cast members from the rookie. So let's get her going. It's coming out May 14th, I want to say.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it on terms of the news. Um it's just gonna be it's wild. And I love that Patrick is just giving us all of the content. So,
Yeah.
yeah. With that, we'll go ahead and start with the episode recap. We'll start with Tim's strange message. So, Tim's waiting on Miles at his house, and Miles is late, and he's worried about why he's supposed to go to Tim's house, wondering if he's going to get fired over bacon and eggs, which does seem like a very season one Tim thing. Like, I feel like he would test Lucy with that, you know? Um, so Tim's like, no, you're spinning and there's no jeopardy here. Like, you're fine. And so Miles is like, okay, cool. So what's for breakfast? And Tim's like, I don't cook for rookies, which again seems very season one, Tim Bradford.
Yeah.
Um, so Tim pulls the LAPD flag football shirt out, saying that the team needs him and he's not asking him for kindness. That the LAPD, has had their ass kicked the last 5 years by that fire department. And he says that fire department. Like he can't even be bothered to say LAFD. And he's like, I'm the captain and I'm flipping the script and I need a ringer. And so Miles turns it down and Tim's like, telling me no is a bad idea, which, okay, non-threatening in a way. Um, so the doorbell rings and it's just some random dude who calls Tim by Sergeant Bradford. Like he knows his rank and everything at work. And he starts talking like he's got a script memorized. Well, Tim shuts the door, like right in his face, doesn't say anything. Goes to get his gun out of the safe. Miles is like, what's going on? Um, And he opens the door again to see the guy still talking. Like the guy just never stopped. And he's here with the proposition. So Miles has his gun out too. They're like both kind of on edge. He gives Tim the earpiece. Miles cuffs him. Tim listens to this recording. And then there's a link to a dark website sent directly to Tim's phone from an unknown number. And he's being told to try not to find the sender or he will use his imminent powers to destroy him. So at this point, I'm like, done, done. Like the Law and Order SVU.
Right.
Like, what? What's going on?
Wild.
Also, does he tell Lucy about any of this? Like, that's what I want to know. I guess
Yeah.
because we see them later in the hospital and he does, kind of say, but. So we see Laura Stenson show up, and she's a whole mood because she goes like straight for the donuts when she gets there. And so Tim thanks her for coming down and looking into this dark web case, and she's like, "Yeah, like, I love this kind of stuff." And I just love that they're the main two interacting. Like, he totally called her, he's got her number saved, and I'm like, so they're work besties. They
So
are.
fun.
I love it. I love this
So
for
fun.
us. And so as Tim's given her an update, she's getting a donut because like priorities and same. Um,
Right.
and both of them and John are gonna go watch Angela interviewing the guy who was at Tim's door. Um, I love how Tim was like, "You want to come?" And John's like, "Heck yeah!" I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Brolin, Brolin for the win.
Yeah.
So as John's walking away, he tells Nyla to call him. He's available if anyone shows up, and Nyla's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Because it's all the police reform stuff. And so Angela's interviewing the visitor from the morning, who says he was hired off of a task website. Like normally he gets paid to fix a sink or take a lizard to the vet. But this guy offered him $1,000 in crypto just to deliver a message. So he thought the message was a prank at first, and he doesn't actually know who hired him. Everything was done through email, and there were no names. So Angela's like, "Here's my card. I need you to email all of the correspondence to me and permission for the FBI to track the crypto payment." And so Laura says that likely all of that will be dead ends, and John's like, you know, he asks if they're sure that it's not a prank. Um, and Laura's like, "No, it's real." And our cybercrimes team did backflips when they saw this dark web hitman site. Um, so there's a list of providers slash AKA assassins to choose from, depending on geographic location, and they all use pseudonyms, of course. So Laura plays a video of assassins promoting themselves in a way, for lack of a better word, on why they're right for a job. And so Laura says that there's half a dozen people that need to be warned in LA that they might have a clue on, and to see if they have a clue on who wants them dead. So we see them talk to the first person who's rich, and she's like, "The list of people who want me dead is long. Like, I can't help you here."
Right.
And the next guy is unhateable. He literally says, "Bros want to be me and shorties want to do me." And Angela's not impressed. And I'm like,
Nope.
yeah, I'm glad that we saw Tim and Angela talking to him because they were both just like, "What the fuck?" Like,
It was
no.
so funny. Their facial expressions the whole time, like, were
Yeah.
just spot on.
Yeah.
Priceless.
And I love how it like cut from one to the next, like sequential. It wasn't just like, "Oh, like we're gonna, interview this first one and then like go do something else." Like it was so
Yeah.
funny. So, and then this next guy that Tim and Angela are talking to says that he thinks his boyfriend put the hit on him, but he's not sure which boyfriend, the one in LA or New York, or his sugar daddy in Miami. But like he doesn't really think that it's him. And even then Tim's like, "What am I doing here? Like why are we doing this?"
Right.
And there was another one, wasn't this, yeah, because there was one where John was talking to him and the guy was, oh no, 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 that was later. Never mind. I'm getting them mixed up.
There was
Um,
a lot of people. I mean,
yeah,
listen, like this whole thing was like there were so many people involved, and it was like it ended up being this like giant like chain
yeah,
reaction type of deal.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
it was wild.
So Tim and Angela and John and SWAT are all on location. They have an ID on one of their hitmen, Greg Davis. He's the definition of deadly. Well, they find their hitman suspect shot and dead. It looks like he was the target, not the hitman. And so TID puts the hitman's death anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour ago. And there were plenty of fingerprints, but the killer with this level of expertise probably wore gloves. So they kind of deduce that the hitman's either cleaning up or afraid that they'll flip to get to them. Um, the hitman. So Cybercrime's got another hitman using his crypto wallet, and Brolin is gonna go pick him up. Um, and I love how like John was driving and Tim's just like doing all the work in the passenger seat.
I know. I'm
Um,
shocked that Tim let anyone drive.
Drive, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they walk up and see Danny Fang. They confirm who he is, and this guy's like, sorry, no English, and walks opposite direction. And I'm like, but
Right.
you actually spoke English. So,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brolin catches up to him. This is an abnormally busy street. Like, for it being one street, there's just shoulder to shoulder people. I'm like,
Right.
okay, yes, they obviously needed it to be like that, but it's just
Wild.
so funny. So funny. So Brolin catches up to him. Tim's like, get on your hands and knees and, whatever. And so Fang falls to the ground. And we see a knife in his chest. Like he has just been stabbed. So Nolan's watching his body cam footage after all that. And he sees Malvado in the background because, of course.
Yep.
So Angela and Tim walk over to Nolan's desk and, because he's like, I've got something. He shows them the tape and, Malvado's too smart to sell his services on the website though, even if it's the dark web. So they kind of figure out that Malvado was the hitter to clean up the mess, but the question is who? Like who hired Malvado? So Laura walks up and she's got news. Cybercrimes combed through the client list of the two dead assassins, and there's one client in common, someone named Shadow Strike. The theory, though, is that Shadow Strike hired Malvado to cover his tracks, but they don't have any idea of who this Shadow Strike is. They've just managed to connect him to a third hitman or the hit couple, which is the Russian assassins, Nadia and Igor. So they're questioning on Nadia, and she's keeping a poker face. She's sticking to her story. And then we go over to Igor, and he just folds
Mhm.
quickly, telling John, he's like, it's not even my real name. My real name is Zach. I'm from Cleveland. Like, Nadia is actually Kaylee, like, since we're fake, like, on the street. And John's just sitting there, like,
Yeah.
I can't even write out the sound because he's going so fast. Like,
I was dying though. I was like, okay.
yeah,
Everyone, I swear to God, everyone that's just random or is on a screen for 2 seconds in TV is from Ohio in some way, and it cracks me up every single time. I was like, okay, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so good. Well, and then like we go back over to Nadia slash Kaylee, and she's like, I'm not gonna tell you anything. And then
Yeah.
we find out that she's like, damn it, Zach, like, fine, but we
Yeah.
still
Switches
don't
from
know
the
anything.
accent. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. But we still don't know like anything about Shadow Strike. Apparently they made contact 6 months ago, wanted them to kill someone in Ojai, but he saw through the scam right away, so they never got any more information. So later on in the episode, Tim and Angela are hanging out at Tim's house, cross-referencing Bitcoin transactions, and they're both done for the night. Like Tim's like, I can't do this anymore. And
Yeah.
so they've got football on in the background. Tim asks Angela if she wants a drink, which is Palm Republic.
Yeah.
And then Tim's like, can we just watch football like the guys do when they hang out? And Angela's like, I'm not a guy though.
Yeah.
And oh, but like Angela also asks him if he's had any luck getting Miles to join the flag football team, but there's been no movement on that. And Tim's like, I even threatened a blue page. And Angela's like, it's like she just can't believe it. And he's like, it's all about the game. But Angela knows that it's definitely like she knows better than that, saying it's definitely not about his issues. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And so he gives her crap, saying like she always has to poke at his feelings and asking like why can't they just hang out like the guys? And she's like, I'm not a guy though. And you're one of the girls, and girls want gossip. And like, oh my God. I we haven't had a lot of Tim and Angela, like just them in a
No.
long time. And I've missed
Yeah.
this. Like they
Hmm.
were even working on the case a lot together too, which is great, but like I want to see more of just them, you
Yeah.
know? So she wants to know what's going on with him and Lucy. And I love how like she totally changed her demeanor with this. It was not like, oh, like I want to know to be nosy. Like I'm here as a friend. Like I want to ask you. Like I want,
Right.
we're close. And so he tells Angela that he doesn't know. Lucy's taking the sergeant's exam. It's a good move for her career. And Angela's like, and it allows you guys to get back together. And he's like, yeah, that's come up. And so Angela offers him a little advice, and Tim's like, you're not gonna like not share it, right? And she's like, of course, like yeah, no, you have no choice. So she tells him that Lucy is the best thing that's ever happened to him, which again, she says so softly that I'm like, I mean, obviously, she is the biggest Shenford chipper there is. Like,
So true.
yeah, she is. And she tells him that if somehow he manages to win her back after all that he's put her through, he better say a prayer of gratitude every night before bed. And he just kind of like smiles a little bit and then they cheers and he's like, can we actually watch football now? And Angela's like, yeah, we can. Like, my job is done here.
Right.
Oh, I need more of them. I really do. I really
Same.
do. So. So Bailey comes home later after work to Amazon packages because John like threw out her cleats, her gloves, all that in an effort to sabotage the flag football for the
Right.
LAFT. So, he comes home behind her and she's got all these Amazon packages and he's like, did a little shopping. And she's like, yeah, I restocked on all my flag football stuff because you threw it out. And so she clocks that something is wrong with him and he tells her about Malvado. They like have a little panic moment, but he's like, it'll be fine. And they like hug again in the kitchen. They've had a lot of these hugs this season, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't know. So then we see that like later on in the episode, they have an ID on the guy targeting hitmen. Like he's kind of organizing all of this. So we see John, Laura, Tim, and Angela watching Mitch Yancey golfing with his buddies. And Emily had pointed out that this was another parallel to like last season in the finale, I want to
Yeah.
say. Yeah. So, and it was cool because Laura was back in it too.
All right.
So, yeah. And so John says that Malvado will see Mitch as a loose thread and want to take him out. And we know Malvado is good with a long gun. And so Angela, their sniper, aka La Adelita, is asked where she would set up. Loved this callback too.
Yeah.
Like, um, and so Angela points out the location where she would go, and Brolin, I love how it wasn't even like a second thought. Like they were just like, come on, you want to go? Like it wasn't even like, oh, I'll take Angela or Laura or anything. And so Brolin's on the move, and Angela and Laura will have to send in units to grab Yancey and his guys. So we see Malvado getting set up, and Brolin kind of surprises him up there. He sets on a sniper, jumps off the roof. Tim calls for backup while Malvado goes into the clubhouse. And so Tim gets into it with Malvado, then John joins, and Brolin is being taken out by him. But Angela saves the day, and she comes in, and instead of him getting down on his stomach, he like goes to pull out a gun from his waistband in the back. And she shoots him and he's gone. And so that's the end of Malvado. So at the end of the episode, Laura is on her way out of the station and, says that the website is still up. It's taking requests from all around the country, but instead of talking to assassins, kind of inquiries are talking to federal agents. And so Laura says that they still haven't identified the hacker who contacted Tim, but if they do, actually when they do, they'll be notified. Um, and like as Laura's leaving, Bailey comes out of the elevator, um, which I feel like could have been a good time for Nolan to introduce them, but okay.
Yeah, I know. I
Like,
thought of that too. I was like, wait,
I mean, I
like no
guess
hi,
like
no hi, no hello. Okay,
yeah. Yeah. So Bailey comes out of the elevator and she's trash talking the game again. She's like,
again.
"You're about to play and get your butt kicked." And but like she really is just there to kind of get confirmation that Malvado's dead. And I loved how Angela was like, "Wow, your wife is bold coming here to talk trash on your turf."
Oh,
And I was like, "Yeah, about that. We're kind of like over all of this." So yeah, but that's kind of it for the whole Malvado thing. The football stuff will come later. You want to take us through the Celina stuff?
yeah. So the beginning, well, towards the beginning of the episode, we saw a part of this in the preview. Um, is that Lucy's listening to an episode of this podcast called Mad About Murder, and the host says that, they'll be back next time with an exclusive episode covering the case of Officer Chambers, aka the cop who killed Blanca, Selena's sister. And the host even mentioned, this inspired, one of the victim's sisters to become a cop. And Lucy is looking at Celina kind of concerned. And then it cuts to Celina kind of walking in a hurried fashion towards the podcast recording studio. And Lucy asks if she thinks she's kind of lost control. And Selena's like, does it look like I've lost control? So
Just a
obviously,
little bit.
she's trying to handle it though.
Yeah.
And so when they arrive, they see a young woman banging on the door, demanding help with her sister's case. But they originally like bypass her, flashing their badges to get into the studio to speak to the host, whose name is Heather Marie. And Celina confronts Heather after she like hears and then sees Heather speaking to her mother about Blanca's disappearance, and she tells her mom that they're leaving, and Heather tries to explain herself, and Celina says, that the only things that, she needs to defend her mother from are vultures like Heather who prey upon their pain for
Hmm.
entertainment. And when Lucy, Celina, and Selena's mom are on their way out, they Lucy kind of runs into the wound from earlier, and she asks if they're police and if they can help her find her sister, whose name is Aria, and she's pregnant and missing.
Yeah.
But the police, said that she's an adult, and apparently Heather didn't find Aria's case sexy enough, and I'm like, ew, that's just
Yeah.
not just not okay, like on any level, really. But I was just why? Like
Like
that's
what?
just
Yeah.
yeah,
Why do you have to explain it that way? Or like,
right.
kind of describe it
Yeah.
like that? Like it's not necessary. So,
No, not in any
yeah.
way. Um, and Selena's mom says, of course they'll help her, so they end up taking the case. And so Lucy and Selena are interviewing Aria's boyfriend, who apparently knew that she was pregnant, but they were both 21. He wasn't ready to be a dad and said that it didn't make any sense for them to be parents yet. Um, And Arya told him that, she'd figure it out on her own, and he hasn't talked to her in 3 weeks. He mentioned that she blocked him on both of her accounts. She had a public one that everyone could follow, and then a private one who, like, that only close people knew about. Um, and Arya's sister Taylor didn't mention that she had 2 accounts, but Arya's boyfriend Abel said that her family is very judgmental,
Hmm.
and so they didn't, Arya wanted to have this other account to like in spite of them, because apparently she was a genius, but she felt a lot of pressure because of that, and her parents
Yeah.
hated that she was dating Abel and all of this, stuff. Even though she was really excited to be a mom to her baby and everything. Um, and so it just was very differing opinions. Um, and he insists that he, would never hurt Arya, that he, still loved her and everything. even though they weren't on speaking terms right then.
Yeah.
And later in the episode, Taylor shows up to Mid Wilshire with Heather in tow, and Lucina kind of brace themselves for an awkward interaction. And Heather tries to, play it off that she gets the hook now for Arya's disappearance. Celina's sister was murdered. Now she's helping to save Taylor's sister. Like, sisters helping sisters is literally how Heather puts it. And Lucy basically says that she needs to leave now. And Heather tries to say, but Taylor, Taylor wants her there. And Lucy replies saying that, she's not in charge. I am. So, um, badass Lucy Chen moment right there.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I think it was just nice. It was just good to see, like, I mean, obviously, I think Lucy would have done it anyway, regardless, because this Heather person was just kind of obstructing their investigation anyway,
Yeah.
just by being there. But like, I felt like since it was more like personal for Celina, like Lucy was also being a good friend and
Yeah.
getting this bothersome person out
Yeah.
of their hair, so to speak.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, it was evident that Lucy was more there to help Selena through all of
yeah,
it, like through the entire time. I mean, even in the hospital and just kind of like making sure that Selena knew that Lucy was there for her
yeah,
with everything. So,
yeah. So Lucy got another officer to escort Heather out so they could talk to Taylor. And she apologized for bringing Heather. She thought she could help. Someone could, hear the show that they might do and, call in with tips. And Lucy said that they'll be the ones to decide if and when they open up a tip line for this case. Um, and they had told Taylor that Abel had mentioned that, her family was upset at Arya for wanting to have this baby. And apparently Taylor was also upset at Arya for wanting to have the baby and skip out on grad school. And, she told her she was throwing her life away. And that's when Arya stopped taking her calls. So now Taylor thinks that if something happens to Arya, that it's her fault.
hmm
Um, and then a little bit later on in the episode, Lucy apologized to Celina for listening to the podcast in the first place. Celina, says that it's okay. She doesn't get true crime, but understands why it's popular. And Lucy wonders, where the line is between entertainment and exploitation when it comes to things like that. And they actually end up, Selena's on the computer, and they end up getting Arya's private account up and find out that she's been DMing someone named Greta Woodson, who gave her a place to stay or was discussing giving her a
hmm
place to stay. And so Lucy and Selena go to Greta's house and ask her, about discussing the renting of the room to Arya. And Greta said that Arya didn't end up moving in. She said that she went to Santa Barbara or somewhere up north, something like that. Um, but Lucy and Selena aren't exactly buying what she's selling.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly because Selena noticed the towel on Greta's shoulder, which looked like it had like spit up or something on it
Yeah.
from a baby.
Yeah.
Um, and so they deduce that either Arya and the baby are in there or Arya's gone and Greta has the baby. Um, Either way, they don't really have any time to waste. So they're going to pretend like they're circling the block and then come back to make entry into the house. Um, and then it cuts over. We see Greta is panicking, throwing things into a suitcase, and telling the baby that they're going to go to her cousin Glennis's.
hmm
And while she hates feeding her formula, she can't take Arya with them. So what are they going to do about the baby's real mom?
Yeah.
Um, and then it kind of cuts back over. We see Lucy and Selena. Their backup is 5 minutes out. Selena will circle around back and try to find a way in while Lucy distracts Greta. Um, and so we see that Selena found her way in through the back gate and voice memoed Lucy, or like what is it?
Talk to
Voice to
text.
text.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to text. Thank you. I was like, what's it called? Um, did that and to tell Lucy that she was going in. And that there was like that Greta had a knife in her back pocket. And we see Lucy try to distract Greta by saying she forgot to fill out a contact card with her info, But Greta said it's all online and basically slammed and locked the door in Lucy's face. So she
Yeah.
was outside and locked out. So she had to call Celina and tell her that. Um, I mean, I'm glad they had their phones on vibrate, but my God, just the whole time that Celina was like walking around the house, I was waiting for
Yeah.
Greta to like knock her out, honestly.
Same.
Um, I
Yeah.
was, which is unfortunate because it almost ended up happening
Yeah.
in like the next scene. Um,
Yeah.
um,
But also,
because
like,
she,
they were such
yeah,
badasses throughout
right.
all this.
Yeah, they did
They
not
really
give
were.
up. They
Hmm.
did whatever they could to like basically break their way into this house and
Yeah.
get the mother and baby to safety. So
Yeah.
it was good. So we did see Celina found the basement that Greta had locked Arya in. Like we had seen her go downstairs earlier and she was going to basically stab and kill Arya to do what's best for the baby.
Hmm.
Um, but then obviously was distracted when Lucy came to the door again. Um, and so when Celina had found the basement, Greta ended up pushing her down the stairs and locked the door. Luckily, Celina was still able to get to um, Arya in time and like rescue her. Um, and then Lucy, meanwhile, broke through a glass window where Greta had Arya's baby and managed to rescue the baby, albeit by shooting Greta before she could harm the infant. Um, but still, I mean, like she told her probably what twice, I think, at least to put the knife down, and she
Yeah.
wouldn't. So obviously, Lucy had to take action.
Yeah.
Um, and you hear the gunshot go off. You don't actually see anything, but then you just see Lucy opening up the door to the basement with the baby in her arms, and then Selena had gotten Arya up and on her feet and everything, so they're
Yeah.
like reunited. Um, and then Taylor's reunited with Arya and her baby at the hospital, and Lucy notices Selena's kind of looking on at them, and says it's okay if she's not okay, even though she said she's fine. Um, and then she meets with Tim for a minute at the hospital because he had come to kind of check on her and make sure she was okay. And
Yeah.
they have, they share a hug. And so that was our Chenford hug of the evening.
Yeah.
And, Lucy told him that Greta apparently made it through the surgery. So she ended up still being alive. Um, and told him that, she can understand on an intellectual level how psychologically Greta could get to that point and want to take a baby for herself, basically.
Yeah.
But emotionally speaking, she's like, what the hell is that
Yeah.
about? And so obviously Lucy's pretty, like beaten down, like she's had a rough day.
Hmm.
And so she's wondering if anyone would notice if she ended up skipping the game later. But Tim said she jumped through a window to save the baby. So
Yeah.
pretty much like it's okay if she does that. And so that's where we leave with him because obviously Tim had to go and help with the other case that he was working.
Yeah.
um and then towards the very end of the episode, we see Heather stopped Selena in the parking lot telling her that family members from Officer Chambers, two other victims, are going to speak to her on the podcast presumably, and she was wondering if Selena is sure she wouldn't want to join to represent her sister Blanca. And Selena told her, that she has no trouble keeping Blanca's memory alive. It reminds her to always do what's right. So that's a no to Heather
Yeah.
on appearing on the podcast. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
honestly,
and
oh, go for it.
oh no, I just say Selena like seems at peace with that decision.
Yeah.
So which is good.
Yeah. I honestly don't blame Selena for not wanting to listen to true crime podcast or, like to go
Right.
on there and talk. Like that's very traumatic, like what she went through.
Yeah.
And as a cop, like I wouldn't want to go and like relive all that or like I- I'm kind of surprised that Lucy can listen to all of that, but also like I can see it, right? Because she's very like psychiatrist,
Right.
psychology, like that's kind of
Yeah.
just her like forte.
Yeah.
Um, but like I feel like if I was a police officer, like after a long day, that is the last thing I would be wanting to listen to. But
Yeah.
also, she is
Mhm.
me, Lucy is me, when I'm like doing things around the house or just like at all times, I'm listening to
Yeah.
a podcast of sorts because,
Mhm.
yeah, I just want to like hear people yap. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I mean, honestly, I'm like a similar way with like, I mean, I don't know if I don't normally listen to true crime podcasts or like read. I mean, I read some like
Hmm.
news things, but like, or just very basic things about, disappearances or things like that, but like
Yeah.
nothing too crazy. I do enjoy watching true crime a lot, mostly for the similar reason that we assume Lucy does for this
Yeah.
psychology of it all,
Yeah.
the why people do what they do. Um, and I thought it was interesting that they ended up asking the cast if
Hmm.
they listen to, read, or watch
Yeah.
true crime,
Yeah.
which
I love
was kind of
how
funny.
Eric and Alyssa had like the same answers.
Right. Yeah, for
Yeah.
pretty much everything.
And then Nathan was like, I don't really listen to podcasts like in general. And I was like, ouch. But I get it. Like there's just
Yeah.
some that you just can't listen to. So
Mhm.
it's definitely not for everyone. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny. Um, I've loved all of those different kinds of videos that they've done like throughout the
Mhm.
season, like
Yeah.
after the fact. So
Yeah.
yeah. So next and finally we have the Miles department training videos and kind of flag football storyline. So as Bailey and John are getting ready for the day, she tells him that the LAPD is going down in flag football. And he wonders if she got him out of bed just to talk trash. And she's like, it's the rivalry of the season, and LA Fire is gonna smoke the LAPD. Okay,
Right.
let's chill. It's not that serious. I mean, unless they're
Right.
like playing for charity, but even then, it's not that serious. She
Right. I
is
mean,
so competitive.
yeah, I mean, I appreciate the pun, but like, it's just not like, just why?
Hmm.
I mean, apparently that's their new love language now is trash talk because she kept doing it throughout the entire episode.
Yeah. I'm like,
Um,
okay, you're actually becoming insufferable with it. Like,
yeah,
please
well, I don't
stop.
know. And then like when the packages arrived, I was like, is this episode sponsored by Amazon in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Well, even like Angela was kind of sick of it. Like, I saw someone like clip the video and it was like the like heart hands, and Angela
yeah,
was just like sitting there laughing. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of sick of it too. But they've always been like a little competitive because even when like they started out in like season 5 or even season
right.
6, like
Or
it was,
like when they were eating the hot whatever, like
yeah,
hot things or spicy things or something,
yeah,
or like trying to cook like out cook each other or something. It
yeah,
just they've always been that way, I guess.
yeah.
So
But John laying in bed in the morning and just like looking up at the ceiling and he's like, everything hurts. I'm like,
yeah,
me.
right. I was like,
Oh
wow,
man.
yeah, that's relatable for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. If it's not everything hurts, it's like it's me just laying there and I'm like, I really don't want to go to work today. Like I
Yeah,
really
just
just
like
want to like stay in bed.
yeah, just contemplating everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, yep. Once again, John Nolan is very relatable in that. So he tells her that he doesn't engage in juvenile taunts. And she asks him if he's chicken, and he calls him Officer Scaredy Cat. I will say I did kind of like this teasing and playing around. Like it was
Yeah,
different to see. Um, but I was also like, if this leads to some kind of sexual innuendo, I'm out. Like I can't do
yeah,
it. Like I can't. Can we just
mm-mm.
not? Like
Yeah,
yeah. And it was kind of like flirty. And so he's just like, I just find trash talk juvenile and I'm an adult. And she's looking for her cleats and mouth guard. And John's like, oh, I threw them out. Adults don't trash talk. They do sabotage though. And I like how he was kind of like smug and all of
right.
this. Um, and she's like, that's no problem, though. I'll just order some on Amazon Prime. And she like literally is like, okay, we're gonna do that and some self-care too. And flag football is saved. So Nyla and James are outside the station for pro police reform. and no one's there. And it's a very public for a very public meeting outside of the station, which maybe they have to do it in like a neutral environment. Um,
Yeah, I guess so.
but Tim and Miles show up, and Tim says a case literally came knocking on his door, which again, the pun. And so, it's the dark web hitman service case, and John's like, or James is like, oh, that's cool. And they all look at him, and I'm like, he does know who he's talking to, right? Like, I
Right.
don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe to like the average person, like it's cool. I think it's absolutely terrifying, but all right,
Yeah.
James, if you think it's cool, go off. Like, I don't know. So John walks up and he apologizes for being late. And then when no one else is there, he's like, wait, am I early? Why do I have the same
Yeah.
thing too, though?
Yeah.
Like, I'm usually always late to like everything. I mean, I can be 5 minutes away and I'm still somehow always late. But then when like no one's there and I'm like super
Yeah.
late, I'm like, okay, am I being punked right now? Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
And just Nyla's deadpan of like, no, you're late.
yeah,
Like she had no time.
yeah. So John mentions that Lucy and Celina have the day off, but they did say that they were going to be there. So Gray comes up, says he can't stay, but he wanted to come in with Shemlock and get breakfast. And like again, he immediately goes for the coffee and donuts too, which, hey, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
there. That's a whole mood too.
Yeah.
So they knew that it was going to be a possibility that no one showed up. No one wants to be seen betraying the badge. And Nyla defends that that's not what they're doing. And Gray asks if there's a proactive step that they can take, something that's a positive impact on how they police moving forward. And Miles pipes in and he's like, well, what about the training videos? They're ancient and out of date on the most current police procedures. They need to be updated, which I'm questioning. I'm like, why aren't they continuously updated? Like, that those police procedures are always changing.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a big misstep right there. Um, and it's a great idea. And Tim's like, I want a comprehensive action plan by the end of the day. Okay. So like is he just not like patrolling today or what? This
Yeah, maybe
episode was
not.
so different in that like we didn't see a whole lot of Nyla, like only with this police reform stuff. So apparently
Yeah.
she had the day off. Lucy and Celina had the day off, but they were still working. Miles
Right.
was working, but like not out on patrol. Like it was just such a different setup of an episode, which I feel
Yeah.
like was a good change up because we've had a lot of like back to back where it seems kind of like deja vu.
Right.
So it's nice to kind of change it up. So Miles is watching the old training videos, and they are old, outdated. Honestly, they reminded me of like they the training videos that you get like at work or like the sexual harassment training that you have to do, and it's so cringy. And you're just like you just know that the actors in the videos just don't want to be there and do that. Like that's what it really reminded me of. Um, and one is about pat searches and transitioning into force when appropriate and how to demonstrate it. And it's just so cringy. Um,
Right.
and so Miles finds Smitty in the break room and asks if he has a minute. And Smitty's like, time is money, my friend, and pans over to the vending machine. And Miles is like, oh, right, and pulls out cash and gets a snack out for him. I'm like, Smitty just like ropes everyone into getting him what
Right.
he wants. And
So good.
so Miles asks him if he's seen the training videos, and Smitty's like, yeah, I've seen all 200 of them. He's a legend. And Smitty says that those videos are just so that the city can say that they're trained, so when they get sued, the city doesn't have to pay. So Miles brings up Pat searching and asks Smitty what he does if Rowley's techniques don't work. And Smitty's like, I just do what I learned while I was coming up. Like everyone kind of has their own method based on the station they started at. And so Miles questions what they do if those methods are unsafe, and Smitty's like, I don't know, shrugs and walks off like eating a snack. And I love how Miles was just there, like speechless after. He was like, okay, so that just happened. Um, and so Miles has completed his review of the training videos and gives Gray a breakdown of what he found. he added a formal proposal at the end of the review, and he'll submit it for review if Gray approves it. Um, and Gray's like, yeah, that's not a good idea. Miles is confused, as am I. I'm like, you just had Miles work on all this. And
Mhm.
Gray says that there's nothing slower than the LAPD bureaucracy, and asks if Miles thinks Rowley asks for permission. So Gray gives Miles the go ahead to get it started and like start improving them. And so Miles is introducing a new format of training videos, and they are going to be to take on, the real world current issues that will reflect the ongoing changes in police procedure that are underway. It's called Behind the Badge. And James and Miles are going to work on every script together. And Nyla asks how they're paying for this, and Gray's like, well, I'm the king of patrol budget, and I had a few extra dollars to spare. Um, and I love how Miles was like, yeah, it's not much. And then Gray gives him a look and he's like, but it'll work.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Miles is definitely the king of putting his foot in his mouth because he said stuff like that to Tim before, and I'm like, yeah, you need to just like not say that. But
Mhm.
so Tim adds that he's a rookie. Most veteran cops will dismiss anything Miles has to say. And Miles is like, yeah, I see myself more of as a producer, and you're actually gonna be the star of it.
Yeah.
I love how he didn't give Tim a choice. He was like, no, you're gonna be the star. I've already decided that.
Yeah.
I wish we had seen Nyla and James's reaction to that too, because I just know that Nyla was just like smiling ear to ear, like he got you there. So, so Tim is not amused. Miles shows him the jersey with his number on it for flag football, and Tim has to fold because that was kind of part of the deal. And so we see everyone on the field getting ready for flag football. This is not something that I knew I needed until I had it. Like,
Right.
this was everything. And I'm glad that we got to see this. I'm glad that, it wasn't just something that they talked about. Like, we actually got to see it. And everyone's there, of course, except for Lucy, unfortunately. So we see everyone getting ready. James is there as a spectator. Wesley's a referee. I just love how, like, they had to get Wesley in there, and so he's a
Right.
referee. Because, like, what else would he be? Like,
Right.
so good. And we don't see him much. Like, it's like two times, if that.
Yeah.
So everyone has jerseys, which have been replicated by the fandom. We will also be making some as well because I've been wanting to make jerseys, like the jersey look with like their
Yeah.
name and number on the back, but like never knew what number. So this is good. But yeah, everyone has replicated them because I don't know, someone had tweeted and they were like, what the ABC shop wants us to buy versus what I want to buy. And everyone's just like already made their own. And everyone's has their own different touch to it too. So yeah.
Yeah.
So Nolan sees Bailey and they do the little hand heart and she breaks it apart. And she's really taking the stress shock thing seriously, which I'm
Right.
also like, can you not do the hand heart? Like that, I feel like it's just something Gen Z does, and you're not Gen Z.
Goodness, no.
So, I mean, even millennials do it, but even then, he's not a millennial. Sorry, hate
Right.
to say it, but he's not. So, so John's going to be on the sidelines for this one. It's where he feels he can help the team the most, which, yeah, it's probably for the best,
Yeah, I'm
for
like,
his
I
home
agree.
life. Yeah. Also, like, I don't really want to see him playing football. Like, I'm sorry, but I just don't. Like, but what I can't figure out is why Angela is on the sidelines. Like, put
Yeah,
her
no.
in. The only thing I can think of is because Wesley is a referee, so it'd be
Right.
like conflict of interest. I
Or
don't know.
something.
But I'm
Yeah.
like, put her in. She can do it. So Gray's the quarterback, which I don't know. I almost feel like he found out like right then and there when Tim was like, "You ready, QB?" But then I'm also like, no, like he knew. He knew.
Yeah.
So, and Cooper Manning walks up with Tim and John's like, "Wait, you're Cooper Manning." And he's their head coach for flag football. This is very serious. Like this isn't just like some kind of rec game. Like this is serious. And Tim's like, Miles wasn't the only ringer I was bringing in. And so Tim's giving them a pep talk. Angela adds that just because Wesley is a referee doesn't mean that they have it in the bag. And he's not taking bribes. Angela's tried everything.
Oh, right.
I would have loved to see that conversation, even just kind of them like bickering back and forth of like,
Oh, totally.
why? Why won't you do this? You know,
Yeah.
it would have just been so fun. And it's Wesley in the whole referee uniform for me, hat and all. I was like, this is so good. Again, something I never knew I needed until I
Right.
had it. And as I was watching it, I was like, you know what would have made it better was if Laura like heard about the game and she was just like in the stands watching them and just like judging the absolute crap out of them. She would have been
Oh,
like, he did that
yeah.
wrong. He did that wrong. And like
Right.
she's the one that knows the most about football, like for some odd reason, you know?
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It would have been so good. So Cooper Manning starts coaching them, telling them what the strategy is, and then Miles comes up and he's like, actually just give him the ball. And John's like, yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm like, so we're just gonna like use Miles for his talent, which I mean isn't a bad idea. He's running really good. I mean, I thought he was running really good for having like a bum knee. I know that it's just like a
Right.
character thing, but I was also like, damn, like it
No, I mean,
what
yeah, that's fair though.
like it was so much to like take him out of football and he's like
Yeah.
running like good, which I guess he had to have worked it up anyway because of being a police officer, like he has to
Right.
run. So um but the way I just thought about this, the way that he ran in the first episode trying to get the guy was so different than the way that he ran here.
Right.
Like he was
Yeah,
like
I
back in his
know.
like football like a
Yeah.
mindset. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So funny. There's like a bunch of different like promo photos and stuff, stills of him like running. And I'm shocked that I haven't seen anyone make that comparison.
That's very true.
Like it's just so funny. So Miles keeps making touchdowns. Bailey makes a couple. Nyla catches the
Yeah.
ball, makes one. Everyone's
Bailey was
killing
really
it.
trying to get to him though. She like
Yeah.
dove and like did it like
Yeah.
she was really
I
trying.
was like, okay, damn, girl, we know that you're good at like 7 billion things. I
Right?
don't need to know that you're good at football too.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay on this.
But it cracked me up though because John was like, "Way to go, honey,"
Yeah.
or "Oh wait, like you should
Like
have
wait.
stretched." And I'm like, "What are
Yeah.
you doing?"
Yeah. And also like I get it. You're trying to root for her, but also like like your team. I don't know. I
Right.
was
It was
like
just
he's
so
caught
funny
between a
and
rock and a
random.
hard place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Tim passes to Celina and she makes the final touchdown. So PD won. Which I love how he like passed to her and then
Yeah.
it was almost like he was like, I'm protecting you. Go, go.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
so
he's like,
good.
let me just push these people out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Yeah. Like he was just like, I'm gonna make sure she gets this. Like so good. So good. So John and Bailey meet up after everything. And, she's like, it was an unfair advantage to have Miles on the team. He's practically a pro football player. And John's like, no one likes a sore loser. And she's like, me and losers don't exist in the same sentence. Okay, chill. You already lost.
Right.
Just take it. Take
Yeah.
it. And so he tells her that she'll always be a winner in his eyes, except for today, because they completely destroyed the LAFD. And I was like, all right, that's a good amount of cringe for this episode. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, and I'm not really a Bailey hater, but I'm kind of glad that she lost at something. Like it gets old seeing her win and come out on top of at everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad.
I mean,
So,
honestly, I'm just glad that John also just was like stuck to it and was like, yeah, no, except for today because
yeah,
my team actually won. So,
yeah,
like I was like, okay, good for you, John. Like, yes,
yeah,
please just cheer for your team just this once. It's okay.
yeah.
Everyone will be okay tomorrow without it.
Also, like, you have more history with your fellow officers than you do with Bailey. Like, sorry, I don't want to put that out there, but like, you kind of do. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure everyone would hate you if you were like going against your team just to root for the one person that we know on the LAFD. I mean, come on. So, so everyone's celebrating. Selena's on two people's shoulders, and they're just the best. Like the promo photos, just the scenes, everything. Like it was just so good. The reactions. And I kind of wish that we didn't have that Balin stuff right there, so we could have just really like soaked that in and like relished it, but it was still good. We still had a good amount of it. So, yeah. But that's about it for the episode. It was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, there were good storylines, but I feel like the flag football kind of made it. Like it was a group scene except for Lucy, but it was a nice scene to see where they weren't talking about work. They weren't like, kind of it was like out of their normal territory.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, it was good. I felt like I was gonna say something else, and now I don't remember. I feel like we need at least one of those a season, if not
yes,
two. Like, give us two of them.
yeah,
Um, but the budget must have been big for this episode too, because they Cooper Manning, which is like
right,
Peyton Manning's brother or whatever.
yeah,
Amazon Prime mention,
yeah,
like something else too. I feel like I'm like, okay, it had to have been a pretty big episode. So,
right.
we did have a couple of listener thoughts. Do you want to take us through the first one?
Yeah, so Lauren thought that Lisette killed it this week, and she brought her A game and smashed Lena's storyline out of the park. Not enough appreciation for how incredible she was.
Yeah.
Agreed.
hmm Also, her outfits were killer in this episode too.
Yeah,
The
so
green
good.
shirt, the purple shirt, loved them all. Loved all of them. So, Lou Jean also said, I swear Lucy and Tim don't know that they're broken up. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like their foundation though started as friends. So
Yeah,
it's always gonna be there. Um, they also said, I totally forgot about Abigail. Next week looks promising, and we're getting Chenford interviewed together. So there should be some banter there. Yeah. They also said, I love Bropez. Angela's so right. Tim better be thanking the heavens if he gets Lucy back. They also talked about the Malvado death, saying it felt rushed. I guess they just wanted to get rid of that, but where are Bailey's consequences? No, seriously. Like, I get it that she was dealing with a traumatic, like, past and everything,
right.
but like, she also did something that, like, could get her in serious trouble, and like, we're just gonna brush past that.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
it did seem rushed and just kind of like it was just, oh, okay, we're gonna bring this person back just for this sort of random reason, but
mhm.
not. I like it worked in some ways, but didn't in others. I felt
Yeah.
like,
It kind of felt like the whole Jason thing too. Like we brought
yeah,
him back, obviously to have Jenna go and then like
yeah,
come back. But it was just kind of like, okay, why? Why bring them back
right,
just for that? Like, yeah. Um, and then they also said flag football was so fun. Seeing them work together as a team is so wholesome. Um, and then they said, I love Miles and Tim's relationship, although Tim's being much more friendly with Penn than he was with Lucy, right? Yeah, he's definitely being like not as tough on him.
right, yeah.
But
Although,
I,
I mean, listen though, because in the morning though, when he went to his house, he was like, because Miles was all like, "Oh, so there's no Jeopardy," and Tim's like, "No, I lied." Like,
yeah,
so he was pretty
yeah,
serious.
yeah,
But then he's just like kind of broing out a little bit with the football thing. So I feel like it
yeah,
maybe that's part of why.
yeah. Well, and I also feel too like Tim's grown a lot as a TO. Like I feel like
Very true.
him having Lucy as a rookie for so long, like yes, he was hard on her, but I
Yeah,
also think some of that is because he knew she was a good cop already and like he just wanted to like reinforce that more with her. Like he knows that Penn's like that too, but
yeah,
I feel like it's probably different too, like different gender dynamics maybe. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to like put that on it, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's different, but I also feel like Tim's grown a lot in just his like teaching methods anyway. So,
yeah.
yeah. But that's about it for this episode. I don't think we have any other notes. I'm
No.
all yapped out, so
Yeah.
yeah. You can find us on Twitter at the Shop Talk Pod _ or email us at shoptalktherookiepodcast@gmail.com with all of your thoughts. You can find us individually on Twitter as well. I'm at jstark804.
And I'm at Kari Hyman.
And we're on TikTok at the Shop Talk Podcast _ Be sure to check out our merch at shop-talk.dashery.com. We have some new designs. They're on sale pretty much until the end of the month. And I'm also gonna create more designs. Those jersey designs for sure. I
Right.
did put out Ladies of the Rookie squad goal shirts
Yeah.
for like a squad goal design, and then the Men of
Yeah.
the Rookie too.
Because
So
like who doesn't want that?
I need the Ladies of the Rookie right now. Like right
Right.
now. That's that shirt. Not gonna lie, when I was making them, I had to look at the season 7 squad goals that I did and make sure that I wasn't like forgetting anyone or like misplacing the names.
Yeah.
Even though I know all of them, it's just like when you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, I gotta make sure that like I have all of these too.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then if you love the podcast, please leave us a rating and review. It helps others find us. And we'll be back next week to recap 7:15. Bye, everyone.
Bye guys.
Go get him, boo.